Inravio.com.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 505 on Racing Show. Thanks for joining in tonight. It should be good. It always is. I hope everybody had a nice Christmas, a nice holiday season. Well, whatever you may be celebrating this time of year, I hope it was enjoyable. It was great. I personally had a great time spending some time with some family and friends. And it's always good. You know, the holidays, it's a different. You know, it's funny, as you get older, the holidays kind of mean something different to you. And as you're younger, you know, when you're a kid, you want toys and this and that. And as you get a little older, you want money. And then when you get to be my age, you just want to have an enjoyable time with your family. So it was good. I hope everybody, like I said, everybody had a great Christmas. New Year's this weekend, 2016. Who would have thought? That sounds so futuristic. I can remember growing up in the 60s and the 70s, and you know, the year 2000 seemed like it was like the future. But here we are. It's going to be 2016. So hope everybody has an enjoyable and safe New Year, in case I forget to say that. So, you know, it's funny. You know, people, you know, you see people that you don't normally see, and they say, if I don't see you, have a nice holiday. So does that mean if they see you, have a bad one? No, never mind. This is a racing show. But anyway, not too much happening in the world of racing this time of year. It's kind of the, as Matt Kenseth and I, when we chatted at New Hampshire, said, the off season is like between Christmas and New Year's. After the banquet, then we go testing and all that kind of good stuff. Get ready for Daytona, which is only like 6 weeks away. We're going to speed weeks in Daytona, and don't forget you modified guys up here in the north. You're headed down to New Smyrna for the World Series of Asphalt Auto Racing. Don't forget to stop down at Bronson Speedway for the special show they're going to be having down there in Bronson, Florida. So that'll be it's on the way, guys. Well, kind of, but why not check it out? You know, I remember the World Series of Asphalt Auto Racing at New Smyrna down in Florida. It used to be 9 nights of modified racing. I think now it's down to 5. So things are changing a little bit. But that's okay. Change is good. And as we all experience change along the way in our race careers, you got to accept those things. So it's all good. Later on today, or tonight, I should say, we'll have an interview that we conducted at the Wall Speedway down in New Jersey with Roush Fenway spotter Freddie Kraft, who will be spotting for Greg Biffle in 2016. He did the last few races with the Biff, and he'll be with him in 2016. I think that'll be a good mix with Fred. Now here you're talking a Sprint Cup Series, you know, former champion, and one of the top teams, and there's Fred's going to be on the roof talking them through the races. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but in Freddie's case, he was good. And, well, I don't want to steal anything that we're going to talk later on tonight with Freddie. So it's all good. It's all good. Not too much, like I said, not too much happening in the world of racing at this time of year. But I want to put this out there to anybody. If anybody out there in our listening area, which is the world, you have any winter projects going on, building new race cars or moving into a different division, you got a new shop, you want to show it off, let us know. Just send us an email, catch us on social media, Facebook, and we'll come chat and do an interview with you. It'll be all good. Right now we have a project that we're slow to get started, but we're trudging along a little bit, restoring an old Maynard Troyer modified with Kevin Basic and Sal Accardi Jr. It's going to be a tribute car. The vintage modified. We're going to race it and compete with it in the vintage racing all throughout the Northeast and in Pennsylvania. And what it's going to be is going to be on one side, if you look at it from one side, it's going to be the Maynard Troyer paint job. the way Maynard Troyer ran it way back in the early 80s. And on the other side, it's going to be dedicated to Sal Liccardi Jr.'s dad, who passed away a couple of years ago, Sal Sr., who ran the famous, it was almost like a burgundy gray, burgundy silver, number 39 at ISA Speedway many years ago. His dad was a calling guest on her show right before he passed away, as he spoke to us from his hospital bed. And we talked about the old days, and we kind of made his night that night. And he talked about that right up until the end, how he was so happy that we remembered the old guys. How can you not forget? I grew up with guys like that raced at ISA Speedway in the modifieds, back when modifieds were modifieds, back when you took a chassis and you took parts and you modified them to fit, and the cars were unique. There were no two cars alike back then, no two cars alike. And the scorers could score them based on the way they looked. They didn't need to see their numbers because everybody's car was different. And Charlie Jazombek had that radical looking thing where he was sitting almost in the back seat, almost in the middle, and other guys with their coupes and the sedans. And it was just a different time. It was a different time, different period. And then what was happening then it became, like back in the Troy days, Maynard Troyer forming Troyer Engineering in 1977. And it was the first production type modified ever built. And Wayne Anderson, a Long Island and a past modified tour champ, had the first one, right off the assembly line, car number one. And they ran Pintos until 82, and Cavaliers after that. But the old Pinto and Vega modifieds, what happened with those is they became figure-8 cars here on Long Island. They buy them because those cars, the rules changed in the early 80s for modifieds. So none of that homemade stuff was allowed anymore. So the figure-8 guys at ISA Speedway would buy some of these old modified and, a roller and put their drivetrain in it. Back then, 6-cylinder cars, 3-speed transmissions, and a stock production rear where they welded the spider gears together to get that lock rear. They didn't have the spools back then or quick changes, and that's what they did. And so you saw a lot of Pintos and come into existence in the figure-8 division back in the old ISA days and some of the Vegas. The big car day was over. The 55 Chevy, the 56 Ford, Crown Victorias, the old Fairlane, some guys had them from the mid-60s, 63, 64, and then guys started to come out with the Mustangs and the Camaros and the Pintos and the Vegas. And it just, the evolution of racing over the years, it was just incredible. Watching it evolve over the years. And like I said, I was a young kid going watching modified racing. Not often. I didn't go on it. I wasn't one of those guys that went racing every week. But when I did go, the impression that was on me to see these cars, I was like, it was amazing. It was just amazing how these guys put these things together. And some of the people I hung out with back in that day, and back in the 70s, and a man who passed away a couple of years ago, Bill Stockert Sr., dad of my friend Bill, I raced with him, was my daughter's crew chief for a while. His dad was so innovative in building cars, and he had some of the best drive from his dad, Bill Stockert. Al D'Angelo drove for Bill Stockert Sr. back in the day, and this guy was manufactured stuff. He was a true modified car builder back in those days, and like I said, I can remember those cars, and even when his son was running figure-8 cars, so many innovative stuff that was on his motor back in the day, and it's just incredible, like thinking back. And now, they all look the same. They all look the same. And when I say that, when I say they all look the same, if these cars tested, I'm going to talk about modifieds, if they tested at your local racetrack or any of the tracks that they compete at, and they came out in primer, no colors, no color scheme, you could not tell who they are today. Put them in a generic fire suit, you couldn't tell they were. But years ago, back in my day, which I thought I'd never say when I was a kid, but years ago, guy walking around the pit area, the garage area, you knew who that driver was. You knew who Charlie Jazombek was. You knew who Richie Evans was. They didn't need their fire suits. They didn't need their walking billboard with their sponsors all over it. They put on their coat, they put on a hat, and they walked through the garage, and you knew who they were. Ed Flemke Sr., you knew who these guys were. Jimi Hendrix and Gentleman Jim, Freddie Harback, all the guys here, Long Island modified guys, who were the ones that I knew back then. I didn't know any of the New England guys. But, you knew who they were. Now walking through the pitch, you can't tell. They don't have their fire suit on. You don't know who these guys are unless you happen to be friends with them or know them. So it's a whole different era today, a whole different era. And as somebody had said on the show a few weeks ago, racing today is lacking characters. There's no good guy, bad guy. There's no rivalries. The PR people at NASCAR need to create that. They need to create the rivalry. Yeah, it was a good points battle in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour this past season and in past seasons, with 3 drivers still having a shot at the championship going into the last event. And that was exciting, but there's no characters. There's no something for the announcers to talk about, Because back in the day, you had that, But, the Jerry Cook, Richie Evans competition that they had was legendary. The stories that were told, and sending empty trailers and trucks to other places so that the other guy thought he was going, and because you ran for national points back then. They took all your points, whatever you raced, they took all your points. So the more places you went, the better you finished, and the better it was for you in your national points. NASCAR organized that, formed a tour, kind of changed some of those rivalries around a little bit. It's missing. That's what's missing. And I think if they go back to that, that needs to be created. And I'll tell you what, there could be some nice rivalries with Ron Silk and Doug Coby. Some of the things, those guys racing together are solid guys, beating and banging each other in a hard racing way. Ryan Preece getting in the mix there. Create some kind of rivalry, create an interest, make it so that the fan wants to go to the next race. Let's see what's going to happen. Not everybody goes to just watch good, hard racing. They want to see stuff. They want to see stuff happen. And you know what? I think that would help out some of these smaller venues that just, they can't charge enough to fill the seats, or they're charging too much that they can't fill the seats because they put this show on. But you know what? Create that rivalry. But there's an old movie, Field of Dreams, and they kept saying, build it and they will come. Well, we have the tracks, we have the cars, we have the drivers. Now let's build that rivalry. Let's build the camaraderie. Let's build in characters to this. These guys and gals who are racing, let's put that in. See, dirt racing has that. See, we kind of don't have that in asphalt racing. And dirt racing is a whole different animal in itself, and I learned that firsthand this past season with all the dirt tracks. I went to between Pennsylvania and where else, upstate New York and New Jersey. A whole different atmosphere. And just this past weekend, talking to some racing people, talking about why did the dirt cars, why did the dirt series guys who race on dirt get paid so much more money than the asphalt guys? In some cases, $50,000 a win, $40,000 a win. Hey, win 2 races in one weekend and you get a bonus of $50,000, $60,000. These guys in asphalt racing, if they won 10 races in a row, they wouldn't get $50,000 or $60,000. There's something wrong with that picture, and I don't know how it could be fixed. And it's really nobody's fault. It's just the nature of the beast. And as we move on and go on in this racing, I'm starting to see guys who are die-hard asphalt racers going to dirt. Modified champions at their local track who had it down. I mean, they were the guy to win or the guy to beat every week going dirt racing. A prominent team here on Long Island, Buzz True, the Buzz True team, with Brian True and the old K&N Pro Series East, and then moving into the Modified Tour. And then they put Woody Pitcat in the car and had a shot at a championship. They were running really well. And a top running team decides, we're going dirt racing. Wow. What does that tell you? That tells you that maybe the money's better in dirt. Maybe you get to race more, but you travel less, if that makes sense. There's more tracks in a tight area where you can go, and they all recognize each other. I'm telling you, I went to 3 or 4 different dirt tracks, and it was the same drivers. And some of them even went to the asphalt places as well. And it's just a good thing. And I'll tell you what, that's something that needs to be looked at. And I think what's happening, and I don't mean this in a negative way, please don't take this the wrong way. What NASCAR needs to do, NASCAR needs to take a look at what's wrong with the series, the modified series in this case. What's wrong with our series? What are we not doing that the dirt modified guys are? They need to take a look at that. They need to take a look at why are guys leaving our series and going to the MRS, to the ROC, to this series, to the dirt series. You know, a once thriving series, the NASCAR Wheeler Modified Tour. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good series, it's a good tour, it has some great people, you know, compete in it, but it's starting to fall down. It's starting to not be what it once was, and you have people making shows and races that even 3 years ago would have been on the trailer after time trials. And you know, you're not going to get better if you're getting into all these races. You're not going to learn to be better. Oh, I know I'm in because they're going to start 35 and there's only 28 here. So something to take a look at. I think NASCAR really needs to take a look at that. They need to put a committee together and involve the owners and sponsors and officials and the people that put this together and work together to fix that. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that's going on across at least this area when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop in Mastic has everything you need to give the gift of music this holiday season. Electric guitar packages with a guitar, amp, bag, and strap for only $129. Acoustic guitar packages as low as $79. Full-size 5-piece drum set package starting at $299. And all holiday packages come with 2 free private lessons. Gift cards available. Village Music Shop of Mastic. The best prices and personalized service for over 45 years. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE and visit villagemusicshop.com.
Hey, we're Bruce and Disco from the Glory Days Show on the Inravio TV network.
Wishing you and yours a happy holiday season.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
welcome back. Welcome back. Hey, the Tri-Track Modified Series announced 2 more dates for 2016 with a double return to the New London Waterford Speed Bowl in Connecticut. One will be on August 25th, a 10,000 to win race, and the other one on October 23rd. Details of the payout in person format have not been released yet, but the Tri-Track Modified Series, I'll tell you what, that's some series, and you know, with 10 grand to win, there's only 2 modified tour events that pay more. One's Bristol and one's New Hampshire. And that's a nice payoff to somebody, $10,000 to win. You don't see that too much more in the modifieds. And you know what, it's not that it's funny, but when you look back, again, I'm going to look back with the payoffs that used to be paid to modified drivers on the asphalt level anyway, have not gone up. In most cases, the payoffs have gone down at certain facilities. And you know, we kind of touched upon it a couple of weeks ago. And why is that? And I'll tell you why, in my opinion. And former series director of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, Ed Cox, put it right out there, laid it right on the table. Guys, if you continue going to race these other series that pay so much less money, the promoters are going to start paying you less. And they all laughed at him, and that's what's happening. But you know what? Races are racers. You could make the purse, everybody gets a trophy. There'll still be guys there. There'll still be cars there. And I would hate to see that happen. But you know what? The purses need to really be beefed up in asphalt modified ranks and all the series. And even at the weekly tracks. And I know that it's not easy to run a weekly track, and we have the business operation manager from Bethel Motor Speedway in our chat room tonight, Tracy Chirico. And it's not easy to run a racetrack. And you know, you have one rain out and you're broke, or you have a threat of rain and the fans don't come, you're broke. It's really tough to do that. It's really tough, you know, and you're rolling the dice on most nights with some of your events. But you know, what you need to do, and I learned this firsthand and being a behind-the-scenes guy, what you need to do is this. You need your pits. You need the people coming in the pits to cover your purse. So that means you need to get a lot of cars in the pit area. And a lot of cars in the pit area equates to a lot of people. And a lot of people equates to money in the box at the end, so to speak. And now what you've done is you got people in the pits. That equates and balances out to people in the grandstands. See? You need your pit area to cover the purses. You need your pit area to cover the purse, cover the insurance, even cover your payroll and your expenses to run the night, so that your grandstand money is the gravy. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the best way to do it. If you can get, you know, in some of the larger venues, if you can get 1,000 people into your pit area at, you know, $45 a head, and I'm just pulling that number out of the sky, I don't know what other tracks charge. Some are a lot more, some are a little bit more, some are a lot less, some are a little bit less. But if you think about it, you get 1,000 people at $45, that's $45,000 that you just brought into your back gate, that you brought into your facility. It's going to cover your purses, it's going to cover your insurance, it's going to cover your sanctioning fees if you're sanctioned by a series, and it's going to put money in your pocket. And then this way, whoever comes through the back gate, or the front gate in the grandstand, I should say, that's the money, that's the extra, that's the gravy. And then you figure out each one of those people, they're going to buy stuff at your concession stand. Think about that. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of folks that, oh, just raise the purse, raise the purse. NASCAR should raise the purse. NASCAR has nothing to do with the purses. And I'm going to say that again. NASCAR has nothing to do with purses. It's not NASCAR's fault that some track in Connecticut or New Jersey or Pennsylvania or Texas or Minnesota or Michigan wants to pay $4,000 to win. It's your choice as a car owner or a driver to go there. Now, if people don't go there, that promoter or owner is going to sit back. What are we doing wrong? Oh, whew. They went to this other track for $8,000 to win. You know, or the other thing that I recommend is when you have tracks that are in close proximity to each other, don't try to cut each other's throat. Evergreen and Mahoney Valley are going to be working together so that they're not going against each other, and the competitors have an opportunity to run both places. Yeah, is that going to cost them more money? Is the competitors? Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? You're going to make a little bit more too. It's all relative. It's all this and that. You know, you got to spend $1 to make $1. And if you're spending $3, you're going to make $3. So even if you break even, nobody's in this racing game, at least on the local level, to make money. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's there to make a living. Not anymore. Not like in the old days. It's a hobby. It's like fishing, golf, tennis, whatever. Whatever you do. Work out at the gym, run track, whatever. It's bowling. You're not there to make money. You're there to have some camaraderie, hang out with some people, do what you enjoy. Racing at this level is no different. Yeah, some people approach it as a business. Some people make, not that they make a living, but they're covering their expenses. But think about it, in the feature divisions at any racetrack in a weekly series across the country, the guy in the feature division wins the big race of the night. That driver and that owner, they're not covering their expenses. Not when a set of tires is $800. Not when a can of gas is almost $150. Not when it costs them $35, $40, $50 a head to get in for their crews. Not to say what, you know, the fuel that they had to put in their hauler, and plus the food that they had to buy to bring to eat throughout the day. That guy won the race. It cost him more than he made. And a lot of people don't understand it. So the answer isn't really, NASCAR can't raise the purse. They have nothing to do with that. But some of these tracks need to take a look at, why are my car counts so low? What can I do as a track operator to change that? And sometimes they need to talk to the right people. You know? I would never go into a business where I didn't know what I was doing. And sometimes you have people get into the business of racing because they have a lot of money. Some people get into the business of racing because they've been doing it their whole life and they know what they're doing. And even then it's a struggle. But you know, that's what you need to do. And what did they say? Well, Tracy from Bethel, she had a little post there that they only raised payouts for one division in the last few years because it's hard. Because, you know, so how do you do that? It's and I know, and you know, Barbara and Jim Cromedy, they were race promoters for a long time, owned Riverhead Raceway here in Long Island, you know, and they knew that some of the purses needed to be raised, but they felt bad. They felt, how do we raise this division and not this one? And let's give the Chargers a raise. Now the late model guys or the truck guys are going to say, oh, what about us? You know? And that's what happens. So you got to do it across the board. And when you do it across the board, I mean, think about it. You know, you put $500 more in a purse amongst 20 competitors. That's not a lot of money. That's, you know, $40 per person if you just add $40 to each spot along the way. But, you know, it's a tough thing, and it's not easy, you know, and especially in today's economic times, it's not easy to do that. So, anyway, enough on that nonsense. Anyway, hey, Seekonk Speedway in Massachusetts announced the appointment of Corey Boudreau to race director. Boudreau, the NASCAR Wheeling All-American Series, has been racing for over 4 decades, or involved with racing for over 4 decades throughout New England. He has been at the Seekonk Speedway in various positions over the last 11 years. Now, I'll tell you what, promote from within. And why do I say that? Now, this guy knows all the nonsense. He knows all the competitors. He's been there. He's done that. I'm not saying bringing in the strangers, because sometimes you need to bring in a stranger. You need a stranger to come in and clean some house and kick some butt and make some stuff happen. And he has no allegiances or any ties to anybody. And that's great too. But you know, I came from a background in corporate America where you're promoted from within because you knew, and you came through every step of the way. You didn't just walk in. But sometimes you got to bring an experienced guy from the outside, and that works too, because you know, change is good when it comes to that. Sometimes you got to, how was it said to me once when I was young? You got to rattle the coconuts. You got to rattle that tree and make the coconuts fall. The weak ones are going to fall to the ground. The strong ones are going to stay. And And that's what happens when new people come in. A lot of racetracks that I'm hearing are changing staff. They're changing head guys. And, you know, it's kind of fun. It's like the domino theory, right? This guy leaves this track and goes to this one. That opens up a position out. Somebody else comes to another track. It's just one of those things, you know, and it's all good. So I want to wish Corey well in his new endeavor here as a race director. It's not easy being a race director, whether you're doing it for a weekly racing series or a touring series. In fact, I think it's easier to be a race director for a touring series because you're only dealing with one set of cars, one set of owners, one set of drivers. When you're in a weekly position, you're dealing with every single one, every division, every car owner, everybody who thinks they're the car owner, every crew chief, for up to 100 teams at some of these racetracks. So, again, I wish Corey well in his new endeavors. And then before we go to break real quick, Long Island's Alan Peterson captured the INEX New York State Semi-Pro Legend Race Car Championship. Peterson, only 16 from Center Merchants, Long Island, finished with 2 wins in 20 events and never placed out of the top 5. His average finish was 2.5. And not only is Alan Peterson a good race car driver, he's also an excellent student who will be graduating from high school in 2017. He's on the honor roll. He'll probably graduate number 1 or number 2 in his class. So in addition to spending many nights in the garage working on his cars, he also takes the time to study and do well in school. Alan, I believe, in addition to racing here on Long Island Riverhead Raceway, also went up to Bethel Motor Speedway too, trying to get as many points as he can in quest for his championship. So I want to congratulate Alan. I know Alan. I know his dad and from the racetrack, and that's mom and dad should be very proud of Alan Peterson, their son, New York State Semi-Pro Legend Race Car Champion. Anyway, when we come back, we'll have an interview that we took or did at Wall Stadium Speedway down in Wall, New Jersey, with NASCAR Sprint Cup Series spotter Freddie Kraft of Roush Fenway Racing when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
Village Music Shop in Mastic has everything you need to give the gift of music this holiday season. Electric guitar packages with a guitar, amp, bag, and strap for only $129. Acoustic guitar packages as low as $79. Full-size 5-piece drum set package starting at $299. And all holiday packages come with 2 free private lessons. Gift cards available. Village Music Shop of Mastic. The best prices and personalized service for over 45 years. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE and visit villagemusicshop.com.
Hey everybody, this is Kyle.
I'm Frankie.
And we here at Inravio TV Network are wishing you and yours a very happy holiday season.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, we're back. Hey, a former Long Islander who never raced on Long Island, but his dad did and his mom did. Brian Chirico was the New York State Bandolero champion with a home track of Bethel Motor Speedway. So I've known Brian since he was a baby. Maybe I think I even knew him before he was born. But nice kid. We had an interview with him while we were up at Bethel. We'll probably get a show this winter. But I'll tell you what, it's not easy winning a track championship, let alone a state champion or a regional championship or a national champion for that matter. But anyway, well, like I said, we're going to want to keep anybody waiting. Freddie Kraft from Roush Fenway Racing, who had spotted for Trevor Bain at the Xfinity Series and Cup, and also for Darrell Wallace Jr. in the K&N and the Crafts from Campbell Truck Series. And then now he'll be with Greg Biffle in 26. And here's that interview now. Here we are sitting in the hauler here at the Warren Township Speedway, and I'm walking around the garage area. I found my cousin, Freddie Kraft, walking around, and for those who know, Freddie Kraft, you're with Roush Fenway Racing as a spotter in the highest level of racing.
Yeah, I spot for Greg Biffle on Sundays and Bubba Wallace on Saturdays at Roush Fenway.
Now, a lot of people don't know that you made a lot of sacrifices to get to where you're going, and I remember not too many years ago, you had an opportunity to have a really good job with a really good company, Long Island Railroad, MTA, and they wanted you to work on Saturdays. And what did you tell them?
No, not interested. Didn't make my mother very happy, I can promise you that much, but just something I wanted to pursue racing-wise, and obviously not being on the track on Saturday was going to block me, I wouldn't be able to pursue my dream, so turned it down, and it's worked out pretty well.
Now, at the time, a lot of people said, this kid's crazy, man. Getting a job like that, it's like, wow. But, you followed your dream, you followed your passion, and a lot of people think you just show up at a racetrack with a headset and you're a spotter. There's a little bit more involved to doing that. How did you actually, what steps did you take to get to where you are?
Just started. I was racing for a little while, and wasn't very good, so decided I was going to start spotting for buddies, Jared Hayes and Mike Andrews were the first two guys I spotted for, and won some races with them guys, and then Eddie, who's a trailer we're in now, Partridge TS Haulers, he asked me to spot for Jimmy when Jimmy came aboard to drive his modified on the tour. So started there, did some tour races, won a bunch of tour races with Jimmy, won some with John Blewett, and then moved up to Bubba Wallace in the K&N Series, and then just kind of progressed through there, K&N Series to ARCA to Truck, and then Truck to Cup and Nationwide, or Xfinity.
Now you still you cut your teeth, so to speak, at Riverhead Raceway, a tight little bull ring up on Long Island, and where you turn in and modified 11, 12-second laps, stuff happens fast there.
Yeah.
You got to be on your game.
Most of the time, it's not, like you said, it happens fast, and sometimes it's out of your hands, it's a chain reaction deal, but, for the most part, you just got to be on your game, and you kind of got to anticipate stuff happening, so you kind of see when guys are racing each other a little too hard, or, when something's about to happen, you can kind of forewarn your driver that, it's coming up and there might be a problem here. So, just staying on top of your game pretty much is the biggest thing.
Now, you've been going to racetracks basically all your life. Every Saturday night somewhere, and some Sundays, and some Friday nights, and I got to ask this question, the guy who's done this is on. If you weren't racing, what would you be doing?
Probably working at the Long Island Railroad.
Yeah. That was a dumb question.
Inravio.com.
Oh, I'll tell you. We had some good laughs in that interview, and like I said, Fred's my cousin, and I've known him his whole life, and We always had some fun at the races. We always had this little standing thing going on. We'd look at each other. We'd show it up some racetrack somewhere, whether it would be a tour race or a Saturday night place or, you know, a national series like the Sprint Cup or Xfinity. And then I'd say to Fred, I'd look at him and we'd look at each other and go, what happens at Thompson stays at Thompson. What happens in Bristol stays at... And it meant nothing. It was just a standard joke. And everybody would be looking, I was like, well, what are they doing, you know? And you know, I look back and there were some great times and there were some not so great times. And, you know, the night that we lost, you know, Tommy Baldwin at Thompson, you know, Fred knew Tommy, I knew Tommy, and you know, and we just, you're there for each other, you know, and you sit down and after the races sometimes and you have a nice cold adult beverage and, or two, or three, or four, and it gets to the point as long as somebody's buying, you're partaking. And Fred knows his stuff, and like I said, he's starting at the bull ring at Riverhead. And back in the day when I was the head official here at Riverhead, like Fred left out a whole part of his racing career. He was a driver. I was the distinct honor of being named Rookie of the Year 2 years in a row. And we found a position for Fred because we realized he wasn't the driver that we thought that he could be or was. And he was, you know, smart enough to realize that. So we gave him a microphone and we had him work as the pit reporter, running all over the place. People would pit, he'd put the microphone in their face and talk, and you know, and at the end of the day, he was exhausted at the end of the night. So he kind of left that part out, but we kind of joke around. Many of you know I write fictional stories about racing, and there's a character kind of modeled after Freddie, and this character has done different things throughout his lifetime, and some of what I write, you know, has some parallels to stuff that really happened years ago, but a lot of what I write is futuristic. And so I had this character of Freddie's become a spotter for a truck series. And next thing you know, Fred's a spotter in a truck series. Then in another book I wrote, he's in the top level of racing as a spotter at the biggest tracks in the world. And we kind of joked about that. So one day we're sitting there, and Fred goes, you know, everything you say that my character's going to do has happened to him. I said, yeah. He goes, well, do me a favor, John. Don't ever kill me off like some of your other characters, because I'm not ready to go yet. We're going to take a break when I come back.
For over 60 years, Hansen Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hansen Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansenCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hansen Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
What's up, guys? We're Scano Fair, and we're here with Inravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, welcome back. Anyway, So in the news, not like I said, not a lot of stuff going on in the world of auto racing this time of year with the holidays. But Sprint Cup Series champion Kyle Busch underwent successful surgery to remove 2 metal plates in his left foot and a metal rod and screws from his right leg from the injuries he sustained at Daytona International Speedway at the Daytona 500 during Speed Weeks. And I'll tell you what, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, he had plates in his foot, rods in his legs, screws and pins, and this guy's still out racing. That couldn't have been comfortable. That couldn't have been comfortable. And I'll tell you what, we all knew that he had injuries, but sometimes you don't realize the extent of somebody's injuries. And a lot of that has to do with the press and what they say in press releases. But screws in his plates, metal plates in his left foot. That's, for those who've never driven race cars, that's your braking foot. That's your brake, that's your clutch. That couldn't have been comfortable, especially at a short track when you're on the brakes more than you're on the gas. But successful surgery. I'm sure he'll have a perfect recovery. He picked the off season, the 2-week off season that they have to have this surgery. So the Kyle Busch, glad everything went well, and just wishing you a speedy recovery. Let's see. Nico RC Toy State extended its partnership deal with Tommy Baldwin Racing for the number 7 car driven by Alex Bowman. It's a multi-year deal, and with them, and Bowman, who is entering his 3rd season in Sprint Cup Series racing, his 2nd with Tom Baldwin Racing. So that's good news for Tom Baldwin Racing. Who could, there's a guy from New York, Long Island, started in the modified ranks with his dad. He's made it. I'm going to say made it big, because to be an owner of a Sprint Cup Series race team takes a lot of money. And Tommy Baldwin's making it happen. Everybody thought he was going to fail. And you know what? I'm sure there were times when it came close to that. And I'm sure there were times where some other people would have threw in the towel. But Tom Baldwin Jr., he was raised by Tom Baldwin Sr., and you never throw in the towel. You keep going. You tighten your belt, you roll up your sleeves, and you make it happen. You put your head down, and you go. And that's what Tommy Baldwin Jr. did, and it's paying off. And I'll tell you what, I think he's just this far off of being one of the guys to beat. And you guys out there might be laughing, and the guys who listen during the week, they might be laughing. I said, but he's just this far away from being one of those guys that's in the hunt all the time. Okay? And don't be surprised in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a Tom Baldwin car in the chase if they still have it. The eye's going. And I'll tell you what, you need that. You need this new blood. Even though it's northern blood, as some of the Southerners say, you need this new blood in. You need these new owners coming in and staying. Because when you think about it, when you take away all the multi-car teams, and if each owner only had 1 car, there'd only be like 33 cars. Not like it was years ago where 60 and 70 cars in the Sprint Cup Series were showing up. There were no such things. There was not ever a starting park. Nobody just drove around and, pulled in, I had a vibration. Yeah, okay, to collect the $50,000 last place payoff. You didn't have that years ago. You had to race your way in, or at least time trial your way in, and you had to be in there. You just didn't do laps and crash. In fact, years and years and years ago in the Sprint Cup Series, the old Grand National Division, everybody did the laps. Even if you were laps down, the race continued until the last car was running that wanted to do the 500 miles or the 200 laps. And they would sit there with the scores. And finally, NASCAR really, listen, the race is over, let's go. But that's how it was back in the day. If you don't believe me, you can look that up. You can look it up. Anyway. Hey, prayers to the Allison family. Judy Allison, wife of NASCAR Hall of Famer Bobby Allison, passed away on December 18th following complications from surgery. She was 74. She was the son of race car drivers Davey Allison and Cliffy Allison, who both lost their lives. Davey in a helicopter crash going to Talladega, and Cliffy racing. And her husband Bobby, in that horrific crash that took some of his memory away, that he does not even remember finishing 1-2 with his son at the Daytona 500. Bobby Allison. I had many conversations with Bobby Allison, some at Daytona, some at the trade shows. I have his book. He signed the book for me. and we talked, and I introduced, it was funny, we were in Daytona, and I was signing in, and Bobby was online in front of me, and we got to talking, and I'm talking about the old days. I love the old time racing, David Pearson, Richie Petty, Cale Yarborough, you know, those guys, Bobby Allison. That era to me was it'll never be better. And we talked about that a little bit. My girls, you know, my three daughters, they're all sitting there, come on, let's go. You know, why do you have to talk to people, this strange old man? So we get in the car, and my daughter says, she goes, who was that? I said, that was Bobby Allison. No, I was like, whoa, that was Bobby Allison. Who is Bobby Allison? Never heard of him. He looks like a decrepit old man, and, you know, he's an old guy, you know, let's face it. And when he raced back in the day, he got in his truck and hooked up the trailer and hauled his race car all over the country racing and going to junkyards getting parts, because that's how you did it back then. And I remember he showed up at Islip Speedway. His car was destroyed on a Thursday or a Friday, and he was, where's the nearest junkyard? And he worked through the night into the next day and into the night to get that car ready for the races that they used to run when they ran Islip Speedway, believe it or not. And I'm telling this to my kids, and they still didn't get it. And I said, listen, you know Ryan Newman today? Oh, yeah. Ryan Newman was like Bobby Allison and Ryan, the same correlation, a hard-charging, tough, gritty guy. And they're like, oh. Because they couldn't understand how this old guy was a racer back in the day. And, you know, I'm sure Bobby's going to be lost without his wife. And he was lost when he lost his two boys. He's got two daughters that are there with him when his wife went home to heaven. And he's one of those guys, like I said, he doesn't remember that race. He had that horrific wreck where he almost went into the grandstands. And you know, it was similar to like the Richard Petty crash at Daytona. When the dust settled and the car stopped, and you were wondering if they were still alive. And Bobby Allison, he never really was the same after that. You know, that head trauma, that kind of messes you up. And, you know, sometimes you wonder, you know. It's funny. I remember doing some studies when I was with the big place, and with Hans devices and safety. And I remember watching a video, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Johnny Benson. It was a video of Johnny Benson driving under caution. You're going 45, 50 miles an hour, strapped in. And he hit something. He hit the wall. Something broke, and he hit the wall, and his neck stretched at 40 miles an hour, whatever you're running under caution speed at this racetrack. And it showed how much his neck stretched and came back down. And that was to convince people that, hey, maybe you need a Hans device, you know, just before it was, you know, popular, I guess. And I can remember even when I had that wreck in '96, strapped into my car, I couldn't reach the mirror. I couldn't reach it to adjust. I had to loosen the belts, lean forward, and do whatever, and sit back. Okay, and I couldn't reach it. When I hit the wall, my helmet hit it. And how do I know that? Because my helmet was red, and the mirror frame had red markings all over it from the helmet. And the helmet, it was on my head, had glass particles in it. So that's how much it stretched. Now, thank God, in my case, or maybe some people might say, when my head came back down, it landed where it was supposed to land. Unfortunately, that did not happen with Dale Earnhardt. And that's what killed him. He had a basal skull fracture. I was lucky. I was very lucky. But Bobby Allison, when he had that wreck, his whole body was tossed and turned and binged and banged, and he just was never the same after that. But he'll still argue about where he has 84 wins or 85. He'll argue to the end with you, to the death, almost. Whether he has 80, he thinks he has one more than NASCAR's giving him credit for. But again, prayers to Bobby Allison and his family on the death of his wife, Judy. You know, we're at that age, at least I'm at, where a lot of the people that we grew up following were older than us, obviously. And, you know, I'm going to be 58 years old. So, you know, that guy was raising, he's in his late 70s. You know, so we're going to start losing our heroes. And that's a sad thing. But he had a good life, and you know what? From the moment we're born, we know we're going to go. You know, yeah, it was Pocono, yeah. And that was another one, too, 22 figure eight. He had so many wrecks that were just, man, you wonder how some of these guys walk away. And they didn't have what we have today. They didn't have that LaJoy seat where, and I'll tell you what, it's like sitting in your dentist chair, but your body can't move. You know, the old seats of today, of the yesteryear, man. I look and wonder why more guys weren't injured. I mean, yeah, when they were injured, they weren't hurt bad. They were hurt permanent, but you know, I wonder why and how they weren't more. You look at the cars from the 40s and the 50s. I just look at these things when they had a hook to hold the stick shift in second gear or third gear so it didn't pop out. Man, and they had like just a seat belt. And I can remember in the early days, my Uncle Johnny, he always had this red button-down shirt, short sleeves, and that was his racing uniform. He had a nice clean red shirt that he put on to go racing. You know, or the other guys in their T-shirts even, you know, racing with their T-shirts on. I remember how they fought these fire suits. It was constrictive, it was too hot, it was too this, and then, you know, the helmets, and the old helmets from years ago, it was just a leather thing that, you know, and then they came out with the fighter jet guys used in World War I and World War II, and then they came out with the harder helmets and goggles, and then they went to the full face things. Oh, I can't breathe, I can't wear that helmet. And, you know, now they have air pumped into them, fresh air, and, you know, cool systems, and the evolution of safety over time. You know, what's the future going to bring? How much more can you improve the safety? How much more? Who would have thought 40 years ago that we were going to see a Hans or something to keep your head on your shoulders? Who would have thought? Who would have thought? You know? But, you know, NASCAR and other engineers and sanction riders are feverishly working hard to make sure those things are as safe can be. And, you know, when you look back, you know, yeah, some guys lost their lives years ago, and, you know, and Dan McTavish comes to memory. The first guy I ever saw get killed in a race. Not that I was there, but I remember it was on ABC's Wide World of Sports, and they kept announcing they're going to show it, and please judge because you know, this is violent, this is this. And my dad let me see because I was so into racing. I wanted to go racing, you know, when I was a little kid. And he wanted me to see it because he wanted me to see what could happen to you. And all it did was make me want to race more. Not that I wanted to be killed, don't get me wrong. But you know what, this is what we do. We go racing. And then the first guy I saw, you know, let's put it, I saw a lot of guys get hurt and badly, and a couple of fatalities in my lifetime. And, you know, that stuff sticks with you. That stuff sticks with you. And you look, what could have been done different? What could have happened? A lot of pieces have to be in place for those things to happen. And just one little thing was in a different position. One car was a little bit lower, one car was a little bit higher. Or if that seatbelt was just a little bit tighter, it wouldn't have happened. So, you know, the safety. The safety has come a long way, and it's going to continue to come. And these drivers are going to be like in cocoons soon that are in these race cars. And they're going to put the seat more in the middle, I guess, down the road. There's so many things. There's just so many things. And one of the things that I had always thought we should have, especially in a modified, because you have a driver's side impact into the wall, you got to cut them out. There's no way for them to get out. You got to come out with all the bars. And I always thought that there should be a quick release roof. The guy's against the wall, he can't get out this way because there's not enough space. The window opening isn't as big enough. And all the electronics are there, and the fire extinguisher, and this and that, and all kinds of stuff in the way. And what better way to get him out is you pop your belts, and you kind of flip the latch, the roof pops open, and out you go. I think that should be done. That should be done. I was trapped in a race car. It took 45 minutes to get me out. God forbid there was a fire. There would have been no 5-off, 5-on racing show because they wouldn't have got me out. 45 minutes cut me out. There was a fire. They weren't going to burn themselves to save me. So I would have been done. But there was no way for me to get out. Everything crumbled around me. But anyway, That was 19 years ago. We're good now, and we're going to continue to make these cars as safe as we can, and that we will. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up. I think we have less than a minute to go. So we're going to wrap up, and I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to sit and watch and participate in the 505 on Racing Show. And again, I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful holiday season. I'm going to say Merry Christmas because that's what I celebrate. But for those who don't, happy holidays. This weekend is New Year's. The new year, 2015 is over. 2016 will be starting. Happy New Year. Tell somebody you love them, give them a hug. God bless you all, and we'll see you next time.